Slithering, slurping fiends had an additional number of unit models tacked on for Slaanesh in the 5.1 update, which is a massive buff. One of the biggest buff a unit can get, obviously, is just getting straight up more models. And fiends now rocking 16 unit models, 95 speed. Okay stats overall, but especially with that devastating flanker on 38 charge, it's not amazing, but it's definitely there. 80 weapon strength, again, not incredible for monstrous infantry, especially in this class, but that speed does mean they hit pretty hard on the charge. That speed also adds, obviously. They've got Strider, and being demonic, got some physical resistance. So Perfect Musk also gives them basically like in the 40s for effectively for attack and defense, which is pretty decent overall for monstrous infantry, especially something this fast. Rest of the Slaanesh build, it's 3 fiends there, 2 on the one side, 1 on the far side there, a Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh. We've also got, let's see, what item here? The Rod of Torment, pretty decent. It's the main reason to take this guy over the Aloris, I think it's called, even though she has armor piercing on her mount. Also a little bit squishier, but can have higher damage potential output in melee. But yeah, Marauder Horsemen of Slaanesh, bunch of devoted Marauders, Mirror Guard, and Sigvald leading the way. And the submitter of this replay is actually Prophet here, the Lizardmen player, Nakai, the Vagabond. That is amazing. Direct translation there. We've got a couple of Rev Crystals and Lord Croak for some magical DPS. Temple Guard, lots of supporting skinks. Yeah, Court of Waddle is going to be the elite kind of center basher piece. A lot of large armored monstrous units for Lizardmen. No surprises, but also very good in this matchup given Slaanesh's lack of anti-large. Fiends definitely have their work cut out for them and have a number of high-value armored units to go after here, potentially. So picking the right target at the right time will definitely be pretty important for Slaanesh to be successful here, but let's see how things get on. Sigvald are going to be bravely menacing the opponent's army, just checking himself out in the Mirror Guard here, running back and forth. Giving a little inspiring speech, no doubt. Or a seducing speech, I don't know. Anyway, let's not think about that too hard before I get demonetized, and just watch as Sigvald's going to eat some initial javelins here, maybe eat the charge of the Court of Waddle. Yep, charges on in by himself. And let's see, Lizardmen just sending the Bastiladons forward to the infantry here. And yeah, some nice friendly fire from the javelins. We see already some bombardments being dropped as well. That is, yeah, right on the Court of Waddle there. Supreme shielding the old ones, though, from Lord Croak to help shove off some of that damage on that initial engagement. Likewise, the Marauder Javelins also taking significant return fire javelins from the Skink cohort here. And a lot of their damage also being mitigated while we see Lord Croak start to detonate those Mirror Guard. The Fiends are, though, going to find the flank here, start to collapse in, and get rid of these support Skinks on the flanks. Obviously, they need to get rid of all the supporting infantry before they can start getting at those expensive, important armored units. So it makes a lot of sense here just to use the Fiends to quickly just deck these Skinks, eliminate them from the flanks. See a little bit of Pavane also on these Temple Guard, trying to draw them out of position so they cannot support Lord Skrolk, or sorry, not Skrolk, Croak. Very different, but both decrepit ancient things. Yeah, you can see the detonation here on the spears. Slaanesh Regiment of Renown, Princess of Perfection in the center fighting. And so far, Lizardmen doing an okay job, taking some damage. Skinks collapsing, but definitely trading on those devoted Marauders for the time being. But things are looking pretty dangerous. Fiends are pretty squishy, though, so you got to be careful not to let them take too many javelin shots here, or basically just want to use that speed to best effect to try and avoid taking as much damage as possible. Here, again, situation where the armor-piercing damage for the Aloris, I think, might be worth taking over the tankiness of this guy, especially, again, with the speed, micro-dependent, but if you keep the Aloris sort of cycle charging, could provide a little bit more armor-piercing damage into something like Bastiladon. But you see the Fiends collapsing there, getting a nice rear charge, devastating flanker, triggering massive damage on that Bastiladon. Likewise, this Fiend kind of pulling away here, looking for another cycle charge angle, perhaps. This Fiend being used to chase some routing units. Not the most efficient use of their cost, but still tactically useful, certainly, and better than being caught in this big, messy blob grind here, where they're going to get dragged down by numbers of Skinks and cohorts and, you know, Temple Guard, everything else. Well, the Lizardmen are definitely taking some significant damage right now. Critically, both the Rev Crystals managed to survive. The one there stabilized its damage, got some healing. can kind of provide some healing to each other. More AoE damage coming in from Stroke as well. As he continues detonating these Marauders. Shield the Old Ones action as well. And it looks like, yeah, Slaanesh starting to perhaps run out of steam. Maybe not. Balance Power is basically just dead even right now. So Fiends are fighting, though. Here, this one kind of cycled a little bit far out. Now it looks like, again, chasing some routing units. I think one mistake here for the Slaanesh player is not bringing the Fiends all at the same time. Or else, like, cycling them one out quickly, one after the other. This one here did take some damage in that blob grind fight, but it looks like Slaanesh, yeah, Sigvalt's going to try and stabilize that. Another detonation going off, though. Might finish off the Princess of Perfection. There, yeah, Fiends pulling away. Starting to pull those Cohort of Quaddle away from support. Super important for Slaanesh. Do so, especially get the other Fiends and kind of get a triangle ready. Pull the Cohort of Quaddle to the triangle and see if you can just mass collapse them very quickly. But big old buff here. The Primal Roar activating massive melee attack, physical resistance, and obviously getting rampaged everything here. So this man doesn't have to micro at all. You just, you know, activate and kill. But let's see how Slaanesh can potentially use that out-of-control behavior to their benefit. Fiends rushing back in here and starting to do some serious leadership damage. A lot of these Lizardmen support units are not feeling too hot right now. This Fiend, a little bit of painful tactical reserve. They do have a beautiful rear charge angle right now onto the Cohort of Quaddle. Let's see if they'll activate to do so. Cohort are definitely a high-value target here, and once they have exposed angles, you definitely want to be focusing them down as quickly as possible with the Fiends. They're probably the most dangerous unit directly fighting the Fiends themselves, so yeah, really nice rear charge coming in there, and now if we're getting close, you see how the Cohort of Quaddle are kind of surrounded by individual Fiend models, since they're getting hit from the side and rear arcs where they're going to be subjected to Devastating Flanker, as long as the charge bonus is still active. So that said, Lizardmen are holding. Got the Red Crystal here to continue healing. All their single entities are still intact, plus the Cohort of Quaddle in this late game hold is going to be super important, especially as another detonation is lined up here for Lord Croak. Going to do some damage to the Fiends, actually pretty good damage to the Fiends, but especially getting rid of all this devoted Marauder support infantry. Combination of Soporific Musk and Poison together is devastating. It's debuffing all stats across the board, but yeah, so far Lizardmen actually managing to hold out in this desperate defense. More Fiends closing from the other side, but they're just having a hard time getting enough burst to cut through here. Maybe the Fiends needed to be cycle charging perhaps a little bit more, but Slaanesh now starting to run out of steam as the Lizardmen's single entity healing here was able to hold them together to a degree. Of course, the damage resistance also, 40% damage resistance on Greater Shield of the Old Ones from Lord Croak, so definitely needs another look. I mean, Lord Croak's always been a great tool for the Lizardmen's arsenal, but these days, you don't see him super often. But it's good to know he still exists, and in a situation like this where, I mean, the Fiends are definitely very dangerous, they probably end up paying for themselves, we'll see. Yeah, 240 kills, maybe not quite paying for themselves, at least in this instance, but Sigvald continuing to hold out there as he gets circle beaten by angry lizards. Once again, that Primal Roar, Red Crystal, continuing to just sustain and buff up all these Lizardmen units. So, yeah, Fiends here sticking their tongues out. Lizards also sticking their tongues out. Even though Fiends are more Anteater-like, they still have a little bit of a sort of reptilian aspect to them. Nice to see them here. And in general, I'm a big fan of where Fiends are at right now. I do think you'll be seeing them in a lot of Slaanesh games. And in general, they provide a really nice, powerful mobile option for Slaanesh that can get through and to get some really good work done in the right circumstance. But yeah, here, again, the Slaanesh caster, a little bit of a tactical reserve, was off somewhere else, but there you go. Nameless Order puts up a good fight there, and the Fiends, yeah, all of which end up actually paying for themselves. What do they cost? 1100 base? We'll have to check that after the fact. I forget these days, but yeah, Fiends, you definitely see them a lot for Slaanesh, so you gotta be aware of that and have the tools to counter them here. Rafit basically just stuck to his jabs, basically, and the jabs, I mean, not wildly successful, but just in general, the Red Crystals, also the jabs on them, end up actually doing some pretty good damage, and they were able to hold out and tank quite a bit there. Cohort of Quaddle, obviously, massive value on them, 12,000 total damage dealt, 114 kills. And then Lord Croak also, heavy carry, 30,000 damage dealt, 2,600 value. Absolutely massive for this this Slaanesh force. And one thing about Slaanesh is, because they lack missile units, they're going to have to try and kill your single entities in melee, often with multi-model units. It actually makes a lot of sense to take that sort of AoE damage supremacy with Lord Croak. And then again, the damage resistance also is a counter for Slaanesh, given it can be used to mitigate charges, specifically, or like, you know, rear charge situations where you might get hit by fiends or something else nasty in a rear charge, especially in a big blob. Yeah, quite good synergy there, and makes a lot of sense for this matchup. So fun one for sure. Big thanks to Profit for sending that one in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.